Hello, my name is Chelsea. I'm 18 years old, and I'm gonna tell you my story. For 15 years, I was in a relationship with my mother that wasn't good. She was an abusive alcoholic. She, um, she abused me physically, verbally, and emotionally. And when I say physically, I don't mean like spanked with a belt or slapped around a little. It was pretty bad. She left bruises in places that were very smart to leave them. She made me feel like just a piece of dirt in her little world. She was not the person you would have expected a mother to be. For years, I questioned why God would put me through it or why I deserved it and what I could do for Him that would make it better for everyone. For years, my family didn't know. I thought that it was my job to protect my mother. Um, when I was 12, my mother had a seizure. She blamed it on the medication that she was supposed to be taking for diabetes. She told everybody she had diabetes because when she detoxed, she shook badly. Um, it would just be 3 hours that she wouldn't drink and she'd be detoxing. Um, when my mother had the seizure, she went into the hospital. She was drinking at work and they took her. um, when she was in the hospital, she was there for maybe 2 or 3 days. I can't quite remember. Um, she was two different people at the same time, and it was a little strange. When it was just me, she was depressed. She was trying to rip out her IV cords and her, her heart monitors and everything. She thought that they were keeping her there for some other reason than her health. When it was a group of people in the room, she acted as if nothing was wrong, that she was glad she was fine, and thank yous and everything. Um, the day after the hospital, the day she got out of the hospital, my grandma spent the night with us. I took a shower, I got out, and I didn't want to see her. I was upset, of course. Um, my grandmother had persuaded my mother to dispose of all the alcohol in the house, which took a while. She made her pour it all out by herself. Um, I came out clapping. I thought that this was the moment that I had been waiting for, that it was all over now, that I didn't have to go through it anymore, that she didn't have to go through it anymore. The day after that, my mom came home and I went to bed. She got home pretty late. Um, when I woke up the next morning, there were vodka bottles in the kitchen, most of them empty. There were two 24 packs of beer in the refrigerator. When she left for work that day, I went into her bedroom and there were more vodka bottles in her dresser drawers. There was another 12-pack of beer in her closet, and there was puke in the bathroom. all over the place. At this point, I was heartbroken. She had broken a promise, not just to me, but to her mother. I emptied it all for her out of anger, and I regret that a little inside sometimes. I emptied it all and I stacked it in the kitchen, and I went into my room and I locked my door. When she came home, she saw it, of course, and she was very angry. She kicked down my door, and I'm surprised I lived to see the next day. My mother had a thing where she would plug my nose in my mouth until I stopped crying, and I would wake up probably about 30 minutes later in the same place I was, where she was somewhere else in the house sleeping. Again, I'm surprised I made it through that night. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know if there was anybody. My mom then, a few weeks later, got into a car crash. She was drinking at her job again, and she became not just angry at home, but angry at work. And this somebody had called security on her, and they chased her. She got into a car accident and she left the scene. I This was during the day. I was then picked up from school with my grandma, and my grandma picked me up, and she told me that she thought my mother was going to die. I thought that maybe would be better off that way, and I feel horrible for thinking of that now. I then moved in with my dad, and they fought for custody, and my mom showed up at court drunk. She couldn't even walk up the steps by herself. At that point, I thought she didn't care a lick about me. There was nothing she could do to change my mind. I went through a anger stage where that lasted about a year. I didn't call her mom when my family talked about her. I didn't give her the satisfaction of even recognizing her as my mother. It then went through 3 years of depression where I did just about anything I could to feel better, but it didn't work. I cried a lot. I spent most of my time in my room. I tried ending my life a few times. I then went to an Al Anon meeting, which is basically a group of kids or sometimes adults who have gone through what I went through. And I understood that it was a sickness, that there was nothing she could do about it unless she wanted to do something about it. My mother has been to rehab 11 times, 9 court ordered, 1 asked by me, and 1 because she needed to, and she wanted to. That was when it finally hit her. When she finally hit rock bottom, she put herself in rehab, and she has been sober for a year. I finally found peace with myself because she found peace. I probably could have done it a lot earlier. I'm 18 years old, and my mother was an alcoholic for 17 years of that life. I'll never get those years back, and I understand that. But I'm happy that she's healthy. I see her as much as I can. I speak to her on the phone at least once a week, and I love her. No matter what she put me through, she made me a stronger person. And though while I was in the situation, I would have done anything in the world to get out of it, now I'm glad that I had gone through it. It made me a stronger person on the inside and the outside. And if you're going through it, I understand how you feel. You are not alone. And if it's worse than my situation, there are people you can talk to. Don't be afraid. You have to find the courage within yourself as much as you do in the outside world. I love you all, and I hope that if this is you, if you are in my situation, that you share your story as well. And I hope that you can find the courage to do that. Love yourself first.